frequently drawn to stories about the rich and famous. From TMZ to Buzzfeed, we can't help but wonder what the Kardashians are up to or where the Hiltons are going on vacation this summer. Their lifestyles are out of reach for us and keep us wondering what we would do with all that money if given the chance. But despite looking in and seeing what we think are perfect lives, they can be far from perfect. In today's story, we find ourselves in upscale Manhattan in the 1940s, where a young heiress would be found dead at the hands of her estranged husband. This is a brief history of Patricia Burton Longergan. As always, this episode of A Brief History contains graphic content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Patricia Burton was born on September 1st, 1921, to parents William and Lucille Burton, just a year after the couple had wed. William Burton came from a Jewish immigrant who had begun his own brewery in New York City called Lion Beer. Lion Beer was an outstanding success and thrust the family into incredible wealth after the share of his sale for what would be almost $200 million by today's standards. Despite seeming like the picture-perfect family, William Burton was referred to as free-spirited by most, and was known to have a revolving door of young men in and out of his bedroom. It finally became all too much for Lucille, who left William in 1925. Wayne Longergan was born on January 14, 1918, to a middle-class family in Canada. While not much is said about his young life, it's apparent that he didn't have the best upbringing, with his mother dying in a mental institution and his father dying, leaving him and his siblings orphaned when he was just a young teenager. Wayne attended multiple schools growing up and eventually dropped out when he turned 16. He turned to crime and had several run-ins with the police as well as arrests for petty crimes. Eventually, Wayne seemed to turn his life around and attended business college while working a handful of odd jobs. In 1939, Wayne moved to New York to work the World's Fair and ended up meeting William and his daughter Patricia. Allegedly, Wayne was one of the young men who had been seen frequenting William Burton's bedroom, although Wayne denied throughout his life that he was a queer man, despite the mounting evidence otherwise, including statements later made by friends of recounting times where Wayne had bragged that he made easy money through male perverts. Despite all of this, Wayne and Patricia married in the summer of 1941. Patricia even stated at one point, "If he was good enough for my father, he's good enough for me." The couple quickly had their first and only child, a son. Even after the birth of their child, Patricia seemed more interested in continuing her social life, attending parties and other events across the elite of Manhattan. Wayne and Patricia quickly drifted apart and each took on numerous lovers, sometimes overlapping lovers. Finally, in the summer of 1943, Patricia decided she was tired of Wayne and kicked him out of their shared apartment and then cut him off from the money she was receiving from her now late father's estate. Wayne ended up returning to Toronto and joined the Air Force, trying to protect himself from the inevitable divorce. In October of 1943, Wayne returned to New York to visit for the weekend, beginning by stopping by Patricia's apartment. It is said that they calmly and amicably discussed their impending divorce, and later that evening, Wayne went on a date with a young actress. At 3 a.m. the same day, Wayne claims that he picked up an American soldier and brought him back to the apartment he was staying in over the weekend for some alone time. Upon waking, he found the soldier leaving with both Wayne's cash and his Royal Air Force uniform. Wayne claims that the men fought, and he ended up with a scratch on his face as well as his Air Force uniform stolen. He finished out his weekend and ultimately returned to Toronto. But that didn't seem to be what had really happened. In piecing together the timeline, investigators found that Wayne had showed up to Patricia's apartment around 9 a.m. on Sunday while wearing his Royal Air Force uniform. The pair fought almost instantly over the specifics of the divorce, and Patricia was hit with 2 large, heavy candlesticks and then strangled to death. Upon arriving back to the apartment he was staying in, Wayne found blood on his uniform. He borrowed a suit from a friend and disposed of the uniform in the East River. Patricia's body was found later that day at 8 p.m. on a Sunday by a friend named Peter Elzer, who had come by to escort her out on the town for the evening. The maid explained that Patricia had not left her locked bedroom for the entire day, prompting Elzer to kick down the door, where he made the horrific discovery of Patricia, who was naked, beaten, and strangled on the floor of her bedroom. Police were called and Wayne Longergan was arrested in Toronto the following morning. Wayne appeared shocked at the news of his wife's death, denied that he had been involved, and agreed to join the investigators back to New York City to help solve the crime. But upon arrival in New York, Wayne confessed the crime of murdering his wife, under apparent pressure from the police about the salacious headlines that could be created out of this crime. A closeted queer man killing his heiress wife in front of their young child. Wanting to retain both his and his son's dignity, Wayne wrote his confession. Later in life, Wayne said that not only was he coerced to confess to the crime, but had confessed to the crimes after 50+ hours of no sleep and over 25 hours without food. Despite having no witnesses placing him at the crime scene and no other evidence besides the confession, Wayne Longergan was charged with second-degree murder and sent to prison where he remained until 1967. In 1967, Wayne Longergan was released from prison under the condition that he return to Canada. He did, and remained there until he died in 1986. What do you think happened? Did Wayne Longergan kill his estranged wife? Or was he really coerced into a false confession by police? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining me for another episode of A Brief History. Thank you to my patrons who support this series. You are much appreciated. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime Sims builds every Friday or Saturday. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.